Hello, I'm Eric Brax. This is a presentation of information, and I have to start with this, and it's called The Meaning of Life. And I know that's risky because, but trust me, I have to start this information this way because it literally is. These documents in here represent the true meaning of life and have these amazing, astounding effects. That's why I have to start it this way. I'm going to ask you to trust me because I'm not a weird person. I'm a scientist. I'm an understander of consciousness. And I'm going to show you what is the truth. And the way that I'm really sure that this is the correct answer is because it's like a little wee jigsaw puzzle. When we have these pieces and we put it together and it makes a complete picture of what human beings absolutely think is right and true, then that's what this is. And it is the meaning of life because it transports us into the future, into the reality immediately, so that we're living in a world that we long to live in, i.e. one of peace and harmony and love. Now, the meaning of life, it turns out, is love. That shouldn't be surprising to anybody, and it should be a relief to everybody that that's how I'm starting. But it's not just love, because we've been used to that concept for a long time, forever, and it hasn't yet led us to the world that we want to live in. I'm going to put this diagram and all the other diagrams on the screen as well, so you can pause and have a look, have a proper little read. But I'm going to go through reasonably quickly and give you an overview of everything here, and then I'll do another video which will be focused on, for instance, this part. This is personal enlightenment. I use the word enlightenment, don't be scared, it just means 100% well-being, full mental health. Okay, but I have to start here because the other things that this leads to are also mind-blowing and profound. This is the shortest path to personal well-being. I'll tell you now that there's no argument about this. When you understand this and look at it in its simplicity, there's no room for maneuver. This is just the right answer. So you're going to have that. That's scientific well-being. This is another effect of this. Once we all become well, we end up in a period which I've labeled the end of war. It's immediate. Well, the end of war period takes 20 years, but everything else in here is kind of immediate. You can do this for yourself in a week. And only you can do this. A therapist can help you achieve something in the manner of this, but this is the only thing which is the shortest possible runway, which you can then simply use to get yourself into a place of 100% well-being and know that you're there. So this one also has implicit within it the end of bullying. That should be a happy statement for everybody, parents, but people alike. We've all gone through moments where we've felt bullied. The other aspect of this is the unity of science and religion, which is something nobody is expecting, but this will happily happen easily once this information is known about. It'll also mean the end of loneliness. Now, people are locking themselves away in their room and afraid to go out because it's a hard world out there. This is all going to gradually dissolve, but dissolve relatively quickly. The next 10 years are going to be a global celebration for the fact that this is now understood. It's our origin story and it's who we are in our hearts. And it will deliver us the world that we've longed for all this time, because now is the right time. We'll find out. Now, each of these has a notation at the bottom of it, and they all roughly read the same thing. The method here is very new, yet historically correct. It just fits with all current human knowledge. It's clearly true. You can look at it and just be aware that this can't be wrong. And it's very teachable. In fact, it's only for this to be understood only requires 2 of my images. For this to be understood, this is all human enlightenment, it only takes 4 images for you to understand and have that sewn up for yourself. You can do the process, as I say, it only takes a week to get yourself going. This is another important part though. This is fastest solving of fusion and global warming. And I'm not talking about doubling the result being double the efforts, or even 10 times our current efforts for solving those things. 100 times, 1,000, it's going to be in the order of 10,000 times more effort is going to be put into solving these things, because it's very serious and we all need this to happen. It's a little bit like the moment we're all in right now is like the end of a war, where it's happening and we just got one sick patient to get over the finish line because we don't want anybody left behind. And that one sick patient is global warming. We need to get that solved and across the line. Once we do that, everything else is going to be bliss forever. So this is a whole new paradigm shift. It's sort of like when Darwin came up with his Origin of Species, it changes the way we see everything because it's part of our origin story. This is exactly the same thing, but actually bigger. Do make yourself a cup of tea or coffee, because this will blow your mind. This stuff is true and will blow your mind. Not necessarily right now in the hour that you're going to hear about this. This is just a priming, because I believe it's going to take you to look at these diagrams for a few days in a row, just to look at the diagrams. There's nothing to remember here. It's just to keep these ideas forefront of your mind, so that it doesn't all just dissipate and you end up back in your old habits doing crazy things and expecting things to go better. This is how everything goes better for you as an individual and for all the people around you, the whole of society. The leaders of the world will be championing this because it does answer every single human requirement and deliver us the world that we've longed to live in. There's a lot of big stuff here. And now we get on to the actual 12 images. This is the next one. This is that wee jigsaw puzzle. It shows some of the people at the Solvay conference, but I couldn't put the whole picture in because there aren't that many pieces in this puzzle. There are only a very few pieces, but they all lock together so perfectly, so amazingly, that this cannot be wrong. You'll know this as much as I know this very soon. I've been living with these ideas for a couple of years, so I'm well into it, and I know that we're living in an amazing, amazing moment in time. A massive transition is going to start this year. I've already announced it, global enlightenment, but honestly, I don't mean to scare you away. Don't go away. When I say enlightenment, I'm only talking about 100% mental human well-being. We're going to be doing the shortest path to that really soon in this video. So that's the reason this is here. We know it's right when all the pieces fit and it gives us the picture that we want. So to start the whole process off, the first 2 sheets in these 12 sheets are labelled introduction, because we want to get on the same place in terms of how we're thinking. So this is a sphere of human knowledge, and in this sphere are lots of little spheres of knowledge, and if the top part of the sphere they're all the things that we know about, the facts. They're physics, chemistry, roofing, computing. We know how to get iron out of a rock. We know how to make computers out of things. We know we're still learning, but at the same time we're sure about a lot of things. This is all fact. It's mental logic. The bottom half on this, though, is to do with consciousness, to do with the heart, it's to do with our struggle with ourselves, understanding ourselves, our own origin story, and knowing who we are so that we can function at closer to 100%. Now in here are the spheres that would include religion, spiritual things, well-being, charisma, confidence, creativity, motivation, all the things that all the self-help books are about. It's a billion-dollar industry. People are interested in trying to solve this. The reason it's purple though is because this is still an area of confusion. That is to say that if we asked 100 psychologists, how do you reinstate a person's self-belief, their confidence, they'll give you 100 various answers and none of them will work well, because if it was that easy, we would all be doing it already. This is why this is purple. That's why it's still notated as an area of confusion. But this confusion is going to evaporate because of the formula love equals energy. It's the meaning of life, and that's the whole point of having a meaning of life, is to give us direction. And it does, and not just direction, it solves everything. Thank you for staying with me. Get a cup of coffee because this is a nice trip. You're going to love it. Okay, so this is the same diagram again. The purple part represents the confusion, and these are the features of that confusion. There's mental ill health, wasted talent, full hospitals, full law courts, policing costs, welfare costs, and system mistrust. We're in this phase where we don't even trust our leaders half the time. This is not a good situation. We know something's foundationally wrong. We've lived in this intellectually managed world for 100 years, and it's starting to fail in a serious way, and that's because we've lost our connection to love, to our hearts. And that's why this love is the meaning of life and how it's going to deliver us to the point of that perfect world that we all know can happen. Okay, so that's the purple part. This is confusion. But within this human part, there's also the path of love, and that's in blue. It's the love equals energy formula, and it's going to end up right in the middle of the human sphere of knowledge, because it's our identity. It's who we are. It's going to be surrounded by a thing called a way to be, which is what I call the self-enlightenment runway. And that will be surrounded by human civilization and history, because from that emanates all human knowledge. So it's a smaller sphere than this one because we've removed all the confusion, and from this point we really flourish. So the features of this, which are order, because everything's in order, we know who we are and we behave accordingly. The features are healthy graduates, that's motivated, creative, enthusiastic, and general population. We're the same because everybody's going to do this for themselves, and it's the only way it possibly can be done, and using love is the only way it can possibly be done as well. It's all very self-explanatory and transparent. This is clearly the runway, or the user manual for the human consciousness, for the human experience. And if it's not perfect, we'll amend it. It'll become the runway, and it's called a way to be. Now then, all the old issues disappear. That stuff all goes. All the purple parts go. Happy, unified societies is going to be delivered by this formula, by the meaning of life. We'll see what that means. It actually means the joining of religion and science, so that there's the disparity between those two groups, which currently don't even communicate with each other, is going to disappear, and everybody will become one. This is really important and awesome because we don't want anybody left behind. This is a human endeavor, and there's a reason why religion and Buddhism still exists. There's foundational truths in there, and we want to know what they are, pass our way through the things, the obstacle course that has been blocking its path so far, and then just understand ourselves. So we're going to have happy, unified societies, immediate big business initiation of free global education. So this sphere of knowledge is going to be built online with this structure. Because we're going to have this structure, it's going to make sense to do this and do it straight away. And it's going to lead to free digital education for every human being on the planet, because the better educated we are, the more well we are, the more we function so well. But it's also going to be so easy because this stuff is so teachable. It's on 12 images that all the graduates are going to come out all well. All right? It's all up to each individual. Nobody can do it to anyone. You can help a person if they ask, but otherwise, in every case, a person has to do it within their own self, within their own consciousness. And that's everybody's responsibility, but also their joy, because when they do this, everything starts to work. Okay. And all of this will all lead to the quickest solving of fusion and global warming. It'll be the current effort times a factor of 10,000. It'll be massive. It'll become, not because of anxiety, but just because of teamwork and because of a common goal. It'll be exciting and fun to get that sorted. World unity, that might take 20 years, but it'll start from now, which is what I've called the end of war period, because we don't think that this is all about to happen, but it really is. This stuff will explain why that is unavoidable. Okay? So that's the introduction to this information done. So you know where we're going now with this. We're going to solve all the problems of the world using love equals energy, which is our formula that explains our origin story and the meaning of all things. Okay, this is the first one that explains the meaning of life. And it takes 4 of these images, but the meaning of life only happens in the last one. The big change, the big revelation, if you like, happens there. The logic behind it and why it's just simply true. So we start off I need to get everybody to agree that we are love. So the path to the meaning of life, that's, okay, first sheet here. All historical paths to well-being align with love. Again, it's the only thing that can heal. There's no other way. It has to be something to do with love, which is foundationally everything that's good for a person. Now, all gurus will agree with love. That is, all of these ribbons represent paths that we have that work. In history, we've found things, the Stoics, the Buddhists, priests, therapists, everybody's got a path which we know aligns with love. So all gurus would agree with this document because it does what the Buddha was trying to achieve. And this is just a simple refinement of all past human knowledge, the real truth. You don't have to believe me, just believe all of history, all of human knowledge. But all gurus will agree with this. It fits in with everything they say. Now all priests will also. Now it turns out the first time that love appears in English is in translations from the Bible. So it makes sense. There once really was a person, probably called Jesus, walking the streets of Jerusalem, who understood the power of love, of kindness, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, turn the other cheek, forgiveness, these foundational concepts of love. Jesus realized were more than just nice squishy things, they were foundationally powerful. When he'd given his message, other people attached a lot of stories to it, and maybe he did too himself, because that was a time where their being gods was kind of just accepted as being natural and normal. But Jesus was right when he talked about love, and the love is the exact channel. You can't get closer when you're talking about love, okay? So all priests will agree with this because it is, frankly, just what Jesus said. All therapists are also going to agree with this because they've been trying to work out the systems to get people to behave in this manner, to live a problem-free life. Now all artists as well, movies, art, music, it's all about revealing beauty, truth and love. The science is represented here with a magnifying glass because truth and beauty and love, they're all similes, the same thing. So all artists agree with this. All your friends agree with this, and of course everybody on the planet agrees with this. So I'm making the point, everything that has ever happened has been about love, or the absence of it in the case of war and bullying and things like that. This is just a foundational understanding of us, and so I've put it there to be clear that that's why love being the meaning of life is on point. On point, is that the expression? Pardon me. Okay, now I've got to double down a little bit on this, our identity. Identity 10,000 years ago. So before we knew any of the science and the systems that we have today, 10,000 years ago, who were we? We were natural heart-based society. Who we are is love, family, community, purpose, motivation, rapport, curiosity and creativity. The first imprints of people on cave walls is to say, I am. This is before they knew any chemistry, any physics. There's a gardening machine just started up out there somewhere, but I think it'll be alright. So this is the society of love, an ideal society of love, of humans being who we naturally are. Now over here, this is modern society, and it's all intellect based, because 350 years ago or so, science took off on its own path because it was rejected by religion. It's been on a hero's journey for that time, but now it's time to bring it back and connect it to the heart. All of science and the systems are fantastic, but it has to be founded in the heart, otherwise it doesn't have identity, it doesn't have a reason why to do anything, and that's why we're experiencing mayhem, because we don't recognize the structure of love in our universe. But the features of modern intellect-based society is logic, science, efficiency, the law, economics, education, welfare and systems. But these are all tools that we now have. It's not who we are. We are love. We are founded in our hearts, what we refer to as our hearts. I've labelled this original farmer's mind. It says, we are our hearts, we are love. How does this fit with science? Well, it's a modern example of original farmer's mind. There's a program on TV a little while ago called Last One Standing. It's part of the Naked and Afraid series. And ultimately it's people that are dropped off into the middle of Africa with nothing, no clothes, no shoes, no nothing, surrounded by insects, mud and dangerous animals and no food, and they have to try and survive out there. Now, on this particular version of that show, there was a group of really great survivalists, and you can see how they all work together so beautifully. Their eye on the prize, they're all doing their own specialties and getting their stuff done to contribute to the society. And if anybody hurts themselves, don't worry, we're looking after you because we don't want you falling away. You're a valuable person in our community. It's just a beautiful, natural way of visualizing who we are as people. And it's nothing soft about this. See, some people might think that, oh, if we go and live this way, well, we'll soon get invaded or something, right? What this is saying doesn't mean we're going to let our brains fall out. We're going to do it in a way which is gentle and correct, and it's just going to be amazing even though that's the case. It's still going to start immediately. Like you can work on yourself immediately, and with your community as well. You can spread this information, do whatever you can to get it out there. That's the whole point of me making this video. I need the whole world to be aware of this information so that people who are really qualified, not me, are saying this is the way to go, because it's really, really clear this is the way to go. Okay, so this is the second to last image to derive the meaning, the true meaning of life. And it starts with this apple tree idea. If I was sitting here and there was a tree nearby and I didn't know what it was, and then later in the year it grew an apple, I would go, oh, it's an apple tree, because an apple tree is a process that creates apples. Well, in our universe, we recognize our consciousness We refer to it as a 3-pound miracle because there's nothing like it. The next thing that's near it is the mind of a chimpanzee, which is a far, far distance behind what we have with our higher awareness and our understanding of the entire universe. Is that for real? It is for real. It's just crazy to think about it, isn't it? But that's why we are the fruit of the universe. At the Big Bang, there was once a quantum bit that began the Big Bang, the smallest change. And in that smallest change was already the meaning of everything that's happened since. And we are exactly the same as everything else in this universe. So what this diagram is saying is that we live in a love universe because love is its ultimate fruit. There's a white gap in here though, because this is all science, right? With the letter E representing energy, Einstein's E equals mc squared science. That's all of reality that we understand, that we have labeled and understood as much as we can. But there's still a gap between our consciousness experience of life and the named reality all around us. So the meaning of life is going to fill in this gap. What's the junction between love and energy? Humanity is presently looking to bridge this gap. It's the meaning of life we're trying to find. So now we're going to actually do it. We're primed, we're ready, we're in the right place to actually come up with the meaning of life. I'm going to start it slowly because you can pause it and have a little think yourself. If you're into this sort of thing, it would be really cool fun for you to pause and just go a little further and see if you can get to it yourself. In the end, it's going to be obvious. So the first question is, if this is love, we're used to thinking of love as something squishy or a concept of something doing something good. And it hasn't helped us so far, and so you think, well, how is that going to be useful? How is it going to suddenly work? Well, we have to understand that love is much bigger than we think it is. And the path to that is this question. What if we were to sensibly be sensible and expand love to mean everything that's good for our physical beings, i.e., if we took our brain and spinal cord out and put it on a table, it's going to die. We can't do that. We're one unit. We need all these cells to support that unit. It can't be by itself. So, what if we call love everything that's good for a human being? Now it's the environment. It's air, it's a temperate climate, it's food and water, it's shelter. So we call that human love. Everything that's good for our human organism. That sounds reasonable, right? And it brings love out into the physical domain, which is what we're trying to do. So it's very sensible. When we take that step, the next step is, well, what about a rabbit? Now you might want to pause the video at this point and think your way through to the end, because it kind of happens quite fast from here. Well, a rabbit needs everything that we do, except that it needs soft ground as well to make a burrow and create a shelter for itself. So that's part of rabbit love. It needs the soil. No doubt that can extend to all animals on the planet. Everything has its niche, and that's part of butterfly love is different to rabbit love, but it's all similar but also specialized. But it's all love. It's perfect conditions really for that item to thrive. When we look at a field of clover or grass, it's all doing really well. It's all working at 100% because likewise, plants have love too. They have plant love, which means nutrients in the soil as well as the sun and the rain and everything else. So you see, there's, for all life on earth, we are surrounded by love if we are to thrive and get into the next moment in time. Because it's a love universe, this all makes sense. What about if we go down a level to our cells? What about the cellular level? I'm going to go to the next diagram now because I'm getting quite into the next page. You might want to pause this again and think again on your own because you're moments away from the meaning of life. and not a silly one either. It's a profound, it's an eternal one. Okay, we start off with the top here saying that love, first scientific definition of love, is to be everything that is good for a human being. We start off here with human love, perfect conditions for enabling 100% well-being. Rabbit love, plant love. Now we're getting on to the cellular love. And cells, they have to also be surrounded by the right other cells in order to be supported, to get the oxygen in, to get rid of the waste. Again, at the cellular level, it's an environment of love. It's the right stuff to enable the cell to thrive. It doesn't have to be perfect, just relatively good. And it's going to be working at 100%. So there's cellular love as well. We can see where this is going. The proteins, the cell wall, all of these structures. Again, they're not hickledy-pickledy, just random. Each aspect to life and to the precursors of life have to be just so in order for this thing to go on into the next frame of time. Now we're getting to quantum mechanical love, with particles coming in and out of existence. A particle becomes when it's in conditions that allow it to remain, and then it becomes part of something, or it fades off into something else. But ultimately, everything that happens from the foundational level of the original quantum bit has become something, a process, a system, an algorithm, whatever you want to call it, that allows new systems to develop and thrive when they're surrounded by love of their whatever level we're talking about. Now, we covered on the earlier page that we live in a love universe. It's totally sensible. So now we got the formula. Love equals energy. This represents consciousness, and this represents all the named reality that we have. Love equals energy says that we are love in our universe of love. Oh, and the second definition of love is the quantum mechanical process of our evolving universe. And it comes down to this nice simple formula. We are love in our universe of love. And the synonyms for love are God, truth, beauty, energy, the universe itself, life, reality. And the truth of love equals energy fills the gap in that other diagram. It is the true meaning of life. Now, at the moment, you may not be convinced because, oh, I can see he's done this trick where suddenly, oh, yeah, I can see. But the more you understand this, the more you sit with it, the more it comes forward and says, no, this is true. This is just clearly true. You see, we live in a frame, our consciousness in the modern world is framed in a language structure, a language framework. And the words we use represent our experience in our conscious framework. The meaning of life is literally this. It gives meaning to not just life, but the entire universe. Without the structure of language, nothing exists in a sense. We're all alone. And we only have very limited relationships. But because of information, because of our refined, higher awareness, we've been able to reach places that are beyond normal. And we're getting to this point now where we understand and know ourselves to the point where we can become who we know we're supposed to be and live in the world that we know we should be living in. Yeah? So this meaning of life, it makes 100% well-being accessible to everyone via the KFAG model. Now, KFAG just stands for kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. It just breaks love into 4 components which are easily managed by the human mind. And unifies the world by presenting us with a new perspective. And that's that mind shift that is kind of even bigger than Darwin's. That's going to happen in just 2 pages very soon. Okay, well, we've just done the meaning of life. We've got the formula, and we understand why it is the way it is. Now I'm going to move on to a thing called a way to be, which is every single person's option in terms of how they want to conduct themselves. And it's not hard, in fact it's totally joyful. It's full of bliss. Enlightenment, I tend to still use the word enlightenment rather than 100% well-being, because enlightenment kind of comes with the sense that it's a revelation, that this is something totally different from a previous version of yourself. And that's my experience of it. I can't guarantee that everybody's going to get that experience, but I feel like if you've been struggling, no matter how much or how little confusion you've been in, but once you get to this point here, that know thyself point, after all of this struggle, being like a mouse in a maze, or feeling like you're drowning, when you get to this moment where you have an overview of your life and you can understand it and categorize it and file it away in a way which is sensible and true, you get this sense of liberation and release. It's just freedom, and it's relief from the fact that you no longer have to deal with it like this. You kind of got your head well above water. You've learned to swim. A way to be is sort of like teaching you how to swim. Some people manage to do it and become really good at life, but most people don't do it well. By far, the majority is living at this part of the spectrum, which is the depression side. It's where we've become disheartened. This is the enlightened way to be. It's natural wellness. It's living in a world of love. The features of a world of love is that you have inspiration, curiosity, motivation, connection, and enjoyment. All the doors are open. You just have opportunities all over the place, and you can pick anything, and then behind that there's more space and more doors, and just life becomes a series of successes. And it's easy and joyful. It's just profound. This is why I like to call it enlightenment too, because it is like a magical experience. Compared to living like this, which is where depression is. This disheartened state is one where we're living in a world of fear. And the features of that are fear, anger, suspicion, skepticism, cynicism, reclusiveness. And the doors are closed. From both sides, actually. The people themselves want to close the doors. They want to hide away. And the outside world wants the doors to be quite closed too, because bad energy is not helpful anywhere. So that's like a stuck place to be. There's no way out from here except to either move, well, you can only really move this way. And this is the pathway, and it's really simple to get yourself to do that in a way which is as good as anybody else's version of it. Okay? Once you achieve your first moment of, so you don't have to have the enlightenment experience, but once you know that you're in control and you're working with purpose, and you're able to let your inner inspired self just be free, then that's when you're experiencing this joy. There aren't any ever mistakes. You understand everything. You feel like you know everything because you can answer all the questions really quickly. It's that thing of, if you ask 100 psychologists how to restore a person's confidence, they'll give you 100 different answers, and none of them will work, because otherwise we would all be doing it already. This is the only way to get it done, and it's concise and quick and easy. So you don't need all of the other stuff. You don't need to join an ashram for 3 years. You don't have to study the Bible. You don't have to do any of these things, or even study psychology. Just do this stuff and you'll find out that everything is already in it. And that's how you get to know everything. Because when the questions come up to do with confidence, self-esteem, all of the social things, you already understand the whole universe is working on this love thing. And so you can already isolate and pinpoint exactly what the problem is in any situation. So you feel like you just know everything. And you're always right. It's the universe of love is far more powerful and mechanical, if you like, than we think. Oh yeah, and it says as well, to be sure, these are two wide views of life. And these diagrams are not simplifications. They look nice and simple, but they reveal the heart of every problem faced by modern Western society. It is a simple problem, and it's demonstrated with these two diagrams. And our point, the point of a way to be, which is what this is, and the four diagrams associated with it, is to get us to this point where we understand, we know thyself, we get used to that, and then we live the rest of our life with ease and joy. A lot of people never get to that state in the modern world, but in the future this will be everybody's path. It'll be taught in schools, we'll all be doing it. In 20 years' time we'll all naturally have it, and we'll wonder what took so long in a sense, but it took the information age where we're all connected so that we can all vote at once and say this is what we represent, because there's nothing to argue about in this. It's so simple and true. Okay, this is sheet number 2. Now you'll see there's nothing to remember, and so far everything I've told you, there's nothing to really have to remember. It's just knowledge, it's just fact, truth. You know that it's right because of that. There aren't a whole lot of tools and techniques. It's just acceptance of who we really are, acknowledgement of who we are. So now I've got 2 diagrams to help people visualize what it is we're doing. And the first diagram, I call it the Jesus diagram, because it starts with saying that we are love. And that's what Jesus said. We are love. And then we get born, and the fear program kicks in, which is fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. But if we add one extra word to that, formulate, and teach the kids, teach everybody, that formulate is the only option that humans should use. It means we're no longer reacting. We're not creating the anger, the mistrust. We're simply conducting ourselves in a sensible way and doing what works. All those other reactions, remember, close the doors. We don't want to live in a world where all the doors become closed to us and that we're holding the doors closed to ourselves. We want to live in this beautiful, wonderful world, okay? So by using formulate, the fear code disappears and we are full beam love. And you'll find, when you get your head around this, now everything works. And then you can look back at your old way of doing things, back when you were in the maze, and you can understand, oh well, I can see, yes, okay, okay. And it just makes sense. So you see that this becomes a no-brainer as well, that we need to not have reactions. We do that by teaching everybody that we always use formulate. Now, because we're human, we're sometimes going to make a mistake and we're going to have a reaction. But because we're aware and because we know we're running the power of love within us, we immediately go, oops, sorry, I reacted, I shouldn't have done that, that was my mistake. I'll get back to you on this thing once I've thought it through properly. So you see, you can always recover. And then the tension that built up in that second disappears away. In fact, respect, now positive stuff happens, right? Because you understand from each other that we're doing it and we're succeeding, and it's beautiful. It's just profound. It becomes a spiritual experience when you surround yourself with love. Okay, so that's the Jesus model. Now this is the Buddhist model. This is an indication of an ego. That's like who we are. This first bulb is a perfect one because, and the light shines all the way through. So it's like this one, where the light is unencumbered and shines all the way through. That's a perfect situation, but it's impossible for a human being. Do you know why? Pardon me. Human. Because when we're young, we have to learn through having experiences. And when we're young, we don't quite understand how everything works. In fact, we have no knowledge of how everything works. And so when we experience this, we can experience all the highs, and that's brilliant. But when the lows come, we don't quite know what to do with it. We file it away in the wrong places, and we feel like somebody's victimized us, and we've become hurt, and it's unfair, and scary and it makes me angry and all of these things, we start to experience some of those things, and the light is dimmed because our bulb gets a little darker with all these things. A good wood chipper going on in the background there. I've come to the botanical gardens because I thought it'd be nice and quiet. When we get to 20 years old, seriously, we've become troubled. A reactive ego has formed, and that's how we're generally all operating nowadays. Some people worse than others, but the people who aren't operating well, we often blame them and cause them troublemakers or whatever, but it's simply a natural result of living in this confusing world because we haven't yet understood who we are and we're not living to who we are. When we start to be able to trust our leaders and things, everything's going to become easy and beautiful. The time has come. It's all immediate. It's all imminent. I've already announced that this year is the year of global enlightenment, because this is inescapable. It's just true. It's that jigsaw puzzle. It's so simple and it's so clear. It's so right. This can't be ignored. It's going to happen. But you can start by getting it done yourself and understanding it and seeing it all unfold. It's going to be really, really exciting. It's going to be a 10-year party, really, as we get to realize this and all discuss it, because the implications, everything is affected. It's a different paradigm view. We haven't even got to what that is yet, but it's coming. Okay, in this video. And so what we're going to do, this is now we're going to use love equals energy. We know we are love, so how come we're not all thriving? What is the problem? The problem is this, but we can use love to heal ourselves. Basically, it's like cleaning the bulb. We still have our memories of everything that's happened. Some of those memories are good. We have good things to remember too. So we don't want to lose our past, but we don't want it to affect us badly into the future. So applying the KFAG model, kindness, forgiveness, acceptance and gratitude, gives us the suit of armor, if you like, or the swords to go into ourselves and be able to handle the amount of pain that we're going to revisit when we install the KFAG model into ourselves. It's like resetting our identity. But by going in there with the the weapons of love, we can put everything in its proper place and calmly close the door on it, with purpose, with strength. That's how it's going to happen in terms of self-therapy. And you can imagine, only you can do this efficiently and properly because you're living in that world in your mind, and it's only sensible that this is how it has to be done. Now, should I move this and straighten it up a little bit? Pretty. Okay. So we've done this one probably. Alright, so now so we understand what's going on, we can see the point, we're bringing everybody with us because Jesus was right, and Buddha was right, and the scientists are right. This is all just human knowledge, just what we all know is true. We have to get rid of a few of the little things that aren't relevant, but the foundations are all there. Now this is the time where you install the KFAG model. And you can see that our autopilot is what we know it is. The CEO I've written there because it's a short word and it fits in there. It's just our self-awareness, and it's our chief administrator. And because we don't know anything about our subconscious, we're going to just flood it with love, kindness, forgiveness, acceptance and gratitude. And we're going to install each of those blocks separately into our consciousness by simply sitting in a beautiful spot that's calm, peaceful, without any of those wood chippers going, so that we can really focus and look at our lives from a perspective from above and see how it all happened and understand what's been going on. And we're going to use love to gently put all those old memories into their proper filing rooms and then gently close the door on it. We're not going to do it fast or with panic or anything like that, because we feel powerful when we bring love into the room with us. This page describes it all and says what to do, and I'll make a separate video on that because it's just amazing and it would take too long to put it into this one. In fact, I should rush through this a little bit right now because I just want to show you how sensible this is. So we do the past, we fix our own past. Nobody can do this but us. So it's a personal responsibility thing, and it's our doorway to bliss. Step 2 is another no-brainer. Nobody can argue with this stuff, you see. It's the jigsaw puzzle that's just is. It just is true. Communication recovery, or developing your own charisma. Now I'll read this. It says, as children, we learned a way to be by default. We will see here that for most of us, our default is kind of rubbish compared to what it can easily and quickly become. So there's 2 parts to this communication recovery. One is we learn from the world's experts in communication what it is to be a great communicator, to create interest and charisma and joy without making people turn off and walk away from us. Yeah? And it's also our dialogue with ourselves. Now for that, we have to accept that the human mind, my human mind especially, it allows things to it can think things, and the next day it's kind of gone, unless we take a note of it. And this is part of creativity too. When you have ideas that you recognize are strong and that you want to hang on to, you don't want those to disappear, you go and write them down somewhere. So we start a journal or a diary, and it just has to be little wee short notes to remind us that this is an important thing that we should keep in mind and possibly instigate or create for ourselves. But the journal also just becomes all your creativity. Any book you're going to write is going to appear in this stuff, okay? It becomes bigger because it just does, because ends up being your life. But it starts with your identity and your progress and starting to manage this identity that you realize that suddenly you can. You've healed your past, you've gotten your communication skills in line with, you can walk into any room in the world, and it doesn't matter if there are presidents and billionaires and anybody in there of power, because a person who's running this algorithm, shall we say, this way to be, is the equal of any other person there. Even if another person has been doing it for 20 years, matters not one jot. You're either on the path, you're aware and you're running this way to be, or you're not. If you're running this way to be, you are golden. Everything is great, and you're not going to hate on anybody, you're not going to judge anybody too badly, unless they're working opposite to love. If they're still working with fear, in a world of fear, and they're doing something that's really a bit bad, instead of judging them to be bad people, we're going to recognize, well, that person still hasn't dealt with their issues from the past. And so we'll simply just say, look at these 4 diagrams, because you don't have to live that way. It's a lot better once you've done it. But it makes sense, right? It's everybody's responsibility. Only we can do this. And we want to for ourselves. Now, so we do the journaling and we communicate better with everybody else. And that's another beautiful thing. Alan Watts has got this thing where he says, you know, all of our lives we're taught to prepare for this and for that. So we go to the kindergarten to prepare for school, we go to school, we prepare for high school, prepare for university possibly, or a job, and we prepare to become managers or something. It's all preparation, but for what end? You know, at what time are we finished then? When am I ready? Okay, Alan beautifully says that life is like music, it's like a dance. We're not supposed to race towards the end. The end of the song isn't the point. We're supposed to be loving the music. We're supposed to be dancing all this time. Is to say, the dance of life is the joy you get when you look at your autopilot and what it's just done in the last half an hour, and it's performed well, now that's beautiful, right? You did some great dancing there. But we're human, right? We don't always get things right. Even if we understand the truth, we still might, for me, talk too much. Talk about my stuff. I have a bad habit with that. But at least I know about it. And so if I fail and end up talking too much about my stuff, all right. I don't get pain from it because it's acceptance of humanity. It's just who I am, and I'm working on it. So I don't blame anybody else. I understand why a person would walk away from me when I'm becoming, overly talkative on these sorts of subjects, because it's hard to kind of not share. Anyway, but I know it doesn't work, and what works is what I need to know, right? So when I'm using this system, this algorithm, this truth, and if I stay present, if I'm doing good dancing, if I'm dancing beautifully with somebody, I'm going to only say things that get them to ask me about these subjects that I enjoy, so that then I got permission to give a little bit, not to overload them, but a little bit. And hopefully, if I'm really clever, I can say the little bit in a way that makes them ask the next question. And possibly, if I become really good at this, I can actually heal people and help people, and it's just that's the dance of life. Anyway, it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, so we've done communication recovery, we've done the healing of the past, we've done communication recovery. Now we're really, really set. We're really good. Step 3 is simply joyfully living. It's titled also maintenance. And basically it says, when you wake up in the morning, you've probably just had a strange dream, and so there's strange chemicals going in your blood, maybe stress, maybe confusion, maybe whatever your dreams are. And so you can wake up in the morning and actually feel quite stressed. You're not yourself. Pardon me. And so you make your bed first. It gives you a nice little success, and it's respect for yourself. You're going to sleep there again tonight. This is all just a beautiful part of your life. Okay? So you make your bed nice. The other option is just go into the kitchen, start making breakfast, and start arguing with somebody, or start feeling stress about the day, or to begin with. It's just the wrong thing to do. It's better to go and get your yoga mat out and do your stretching exercises to keep your body all nice and supple and moving. Maybe do some weights if you need to, if you don't otherwise get to work out at all. And ultimately, to come back to your diary, your journal, each morning, after breakfast probably, and that's where you're going to just make sure that you have your great mindset going. And so by the time you've finished your identity, this part, that's the part you want to read each morning, whatever is there in your top part of your journal. And in it should be everything you need to make sure you've got the right optimistic, positive mindset that you would want to start every day with, where you just don't have to worry about, oh, will this succeed? Oh, how come it's not working? All of these things have already been answered by you in your broad moments, which you do every day when you're thinking about how wonderful everything is, and you're asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? And you are. You're always doing the right thing. In fact, that's the bottom line here, is just do the next right thing. So it's really unfair if you wake up in the morning and start to have self-doubt, and if you don't do anything about it. So you have to make sure you do all the things in your identity portion to make sure that you start off knowing that you're good, you're doing the right thing, you're living in a world of love, you're looking forward to whatever the next thing is. Whether it works or not, doesn't matter, because it's part of the process. And you're just going to love every minute anyway. The whole thing is enjoyable. I'm sitting in a park here right now. People are at work. Okay, anyway, I'm just doing jokes. So, joyfully living is just that positive thing, that understanding that we live in love and we're all here to help each other to thrive, and it's the world we want to live in. We then slow ourselves down, remembering to experience every perfect moment. And I've also got restart daydream mode. It's because we're all operating so fast. Now my brain does too, and I enjoy it, so I've given up trying to just become kind of like in priest mode, as I would have called it back then. I've given up trying to be in priest mode because I really like the fast nature of my mind and all the conversations that go on in there, because it's like I'm talking with 10 different people. Not literally, but it's sort of like, yeah, there's so much dialogue going on in here, thoughts about these ideas, that next thing I say something which makes real sense and I think, oh, I better write that down. And that's how this kind of jigsaw puzzle has, all the pieces have fallen into place. So I like that. I don't want to slow down, but I know, at least I know the truth, is that slowing down is always the right answer in terms of especially being with other people. You've got to slow down when you're with others and start being aware. Be a good dancer. Don't be that racing around dancer guy. Not them. But you see, so you don't have to become, really, really slow. But you'll find out that by doing everything slower, it actually goes better in many cases. An example might be, if I'm mowing the lawns, my brain might be thinking how to do this most efficiently, and that's what I'm thinking about all the time. A lot of the time. I have a plan, make sure I don't waste time. Be efficient, logical. But one of the big switches I remember making suddenly, I decided I'm not in a rush. I don't care if I don't do it efficiently. I'm just going to do it however I feel like it, and I'm going to stop and look at this flower for a minute. It's kind of reinstalling or restarting daydream mode. When we go really slow at things, we end up having time to think about things. If I'm walking past the cookie cupboard on the way to make myself a hot water or something, and I'm going fast as normal, I'm reaching in there, I've got 3 cookies or 5 cookies already. But if I purposely go slower, I'm opening the cupboard and I have time to think, Eric, you don't want 5 cookies. What makes you think 5 cookies is going to solve anything? You're just going to feel regretful for having 5 in about 5 minutes when they're all gone, and you can't even, the whole experience is done and you don't even remember having them almost. By slowing ourselves down, we can start to get a hold of everything. So again, it falls into place with the whole concept of relax and release. We have to be able to sit with ourselves and face ourselves, even go into our minds and know that there's peace in there because we've done all the processing. And if there's anything there, we can deal with it. We use our tools of love to put everything in the right place and know that we don't need anything actually, apart from love and a community of wonderful people that help us thrive and feel safe and like we're doing something that's really exciting and fun. And that's your experience of enlightenment anyway. At the bottom here are the shoulders on the people on whose shoulders this work exists. And of course there are millions of people, but I've just listed here some of the world's best scientists, psychologists, gurus, just the whole thing, right? Podcasters that are well-being podcasters. This has been going on for some time, and that's where all this information is. It's kind of the hub for current modern knowledge on this topic. And because of this information, all of these topics are going to get new light. Everything that they've had in the last 10 years can be done again, but see how it fits with this perspective, and we'll find out from all the psychologists and all the well-being experts that this kind of works. It just works. And it's the quickest path. So you see, it'll all make sense at that point. Okay. can you believe it? Now we've only got 2 images left to do, and this is the big profound effects. This next diagram is going to blow your mind entirely, because we all live in this world where we're a bit scared when we're watching the news every evening with all the mayhem that's going on and how things seem to be a little unstable at the moment. And we think, gosh, how long can this go on for? Well, not long. We just need to make it to the next year or 2. Once we can do that, if I can get this information to you all and you can help me spread it to the world so that the leaders, anybody who has credibility, like those psychologists or scientists, or anybody who's got more credibility than me, once they understand this stuff and they say it, it's going to get around really fast, because this is so exciting, because it affects everybody, and everybody's going to have stuff to say about their understanding of what this means for them and their subject matter, and how wonderful the world's going to be from so many different perspectives. It's going to be like a party for the next 10 years. So this diagram then is similar to that. It's the same really as the other one, where the mouse was in the maze. Stuff happened and we couldn't help it. But then we get to this point now, which I've called the end of war, and it's brought about by love equals energy. You'll understand why once I finish explaining the diagram, but this is that point of realization. And from this point on, forever, everything is going to go really, really well. And we'll end up viewing this little point here, the last 100,000 years or 20,000 years, whatever you like. It's a blip. The change is actually really fast, because the rest is going to be unbelievably blissful and it's going to go on forever. But we had to go through this mayhem to get to this point. Particularly to get to this point where we have an internet and we can all communicate with each other and get this thing done globally all at once. This is why, because it's true, because the harvest of love equals energy is so big. All of the things that we dream of happening will happen, because it's all in our hearts. Remember all of those people, the artists, the friends, the priests, the therapists, everybody, but the big companies too, because those people in the big companies are these people. It's us. The companies that prove themselves to be faithful will champion love equals energy, because they know this has got to happen. We need to do this. We need to get people well and productive, particularly because we want to solve global warming and fusion. It's a serious thing we need to get done. But beyond all that, we need to recognize that that's the reason that this all happened. Because here are the 2 stories. One is the story about how we've gotten better at killing each other. It's basically bullying. And it's all living in a world of fear. Even the top bullies who start the wars, they're fearful of somebody else coming over and taking their stuff, so they go and do it first. It's all fear. But here's the other story. This is the story of us trying to get to know who we are and our origin story and how to be. And it starts in this diagram with Buddha, Socrates, Aristotle, Jesus, Galileo, Darwin, and then love equals energy being the point where suddenly we have this realization. We see the overview of everything that's happened, and it had to happen, sadly. If it happened, it became true. But now this is true. Love equals energy, and we get to the end of war, and everything's going to go great from here. And the big companies are going to be on board. Facebook, Microsoft, Google, they'll all want to be first at this, because whoever manages this, it's like Google Earth, right? It's only going to happen once that somebody creates Google Earth. Likewise with this, the sphere of knowledge, it's only going to happen once, but it's a big project, so it will be shared amongst all these big companies, because everybody who's on board here is proving their faithfulness, if you like, to the human heart and soul, the spirit. So we won't be expecting big pharma or big banking to do this, right? Because those institutions aren't transparent, so we know that there's something going on there. We need people to prove who they are, that they're on our side, and that's going to happen, because those companies are made of us. Yeah? It's going to happen, and they're going to race to be first, so it's going to be fun. Okay, so the fact if you understand this and can get your head around it, the fact that this is happening now, this year, what a time to be alive. This is profound. As I say, it's going to be a party for 10 years because this is a massive thing. It's like a human 21st party, right? So be careful out there. Okay, so this is the last page now of this document, and it shows the other massive things that are going to happen. So this is that sphere of knowledge again, where there's love equals energy in the middle, surrounded by a way to be, which is the short runway to human optimization. Then our history, right, human history, so that we understand where we've come from and where we've gotten all our knowledge, and then from that radiates out all our actual knowledge. And it'll be up to a person simply to be educated or educate themselves about this really easy stuff in the middle, and then to simply bloom, to grow. Now, we can add Formulate into the FEAR program and start teaching that immediately. All of this stuff can be taught to students immediately, and it'll all be on point and right, and it'll help them find their inner selves and rediscover their own enthusiasm, motivation, creativity, and brightness. Yeah. But also, the big companies will create the sphere of knowledge and make all education free. There'll be lots of advertising opportunities there, so they're going to jump at it once they realize that it's available to be done. Okay, it'll wind the doomsday clock way back to 1, especially once we've solved global warming and nuclear fusion. But because of this, we're going to have graduates that are capable, enthusiastic, who love competition, who like the whole objective solving of issues. And it's a serious one, so it'll need to be done. And there's going to be all the people who understand the situation of what we're in, and they're going to be following those champions who are up on the cusp and helping the people that are up on the cusp. We're all going to be in this beautiful game of solving nuclear fusion and global warming. Because once that's done, it's basically just bliss. And you can try and imagine what that might be like, but ultimately it'll be whatever you want. Everything that a human being wants will be available. You want to take a yachting trip, just go down the coast, find a place with a yacht, and it'll probably cost you next to nothing, and you can go for a yachting trip. Ride a horse, do all these things that you want to do, and it'll all be easy. The money side of things won't really be an issue. We won't even have mortgages and stuff. The robots and AI will make sure there's a simple house for every single human being, and a lot more, because we want more population, so that we can progress quicker and get some people off this planet, so that we can ensure the survival of our species. Because we are the natural curators of the whole universe, the local universe at least. And so this is what we'll do. We'll go out into space, or we'll send our robots out there to find anything, see if anything's wrong and make it right. This is who we are, right? It's all just love. Now then, the next thing, both science and religion will happily accept love equals energy. Now, I've talked about that a bit. For religion, this is Jesus' formula. Love equals energy. So they will do this, and enthusiastically, gently close the door on the past and open a new, bright future, which is all just basically parties and helping people in a really effective way. And anybody, so even scientists can go to church now, or they can go to church grounds and join in the fun and the joy of love. The scientists as well, of course, yeah, they're also going to envelop this love equals energy idea, and that will unify all of us because of this part, you know, the information, because they also are people, so for every reason, science will also want to take this on and say yes to this, which means there's no division anymore. So how will this play out in the real world? I imagine all church grounds around the world will be open, let's say on a Sunday, and it'll be free tea and cakes, supplied by local businesses. But singles can go and meet other singles, couples can go and meet other couples, scientists can meet other scientists. It'll just be a place of joy and community. And you can go to whichever denomination, whatever you like, and meet the people that really work for you. There's no need for everybody to be a certain way except loving and accepting non-judgmental, because any human being who's on the path or trying to be on the path is going to get respect. Just awareness is the important part, and responsibility as well, that, you know, if they're continuously not behaving well, then it's a lack of responsibility, but then perhaps then it means it's a psychological issue that they can't help. So we'll have to figure out what works and what doesn't work, but ultimately the wasted talent issue of the current world will be gone, and we'll have, this is how we're going to have 10,000 times the effort. Everyone will be a scientist, and everyone will be keen to help in any way they can to help get data and get information to those people on the cusp. So yeah, the churches around the world will all accept love equals energy, because anybody who doesn't is voting for human depression. It doesn't make sense, you see. This is how the love equals energy formula kind of makes love a binary decision. Are you for it or against it? Of course, we're human. We all share the same spirit. We're for it. And this is the time and place and the universe for this to happen. Okay, finishing off. So over 20 years, the people in China and Russia will also gradually relax and join in with our exhilarating safe path to accelerated human progress through love and unity. Accelerated human progress. We think we're going fast already. My Lord. Mind you, well, maybe there's a big wall as to what we're going to be able to achieve in terms of new knowledge. Possibly. We're just going to get better at doing what we currently are. But when humans are operating in this manner, we don't really need anything much. So it's really just more bliss. It's going to be a very strange but wonderful world out there very soon. And, you know, to be alive right now and to experience this transition is something that's, wow, who'd have thought, right? So this is what I mean by, when I first showed you this, are you still here? See, most people would just leave as soon as I say it's the meaning of life. But all of this stuff is really true. Its time has come. And hopefully by this stage you're getting to realize, this seems to actually work. Now, you're not going to get the revelation, I don't think so, to begin with, because it takes a while for it to sink in, and you expect it to disappear sometime. And it will if you don't try to brush up on it, but brushing up on it's easy, just look at all the diagrams and it all comes back. After a week or 3 or 4, maybe at some point, you're just going to, you'll run your own algorithm as you currently do, but you'll also be concurrently running this other algorithm, a way to be, and thinking, that kind of keeps working, it keeps coming up with the right answer, so maybe it's all really true, and maybe if I dare to dream how things will turn out from this, well, it's all good. And at some point, well, then we all experience that as a society, knowing ourselves and realizing, on the one hand, nothing has changed, and on the other hand, nothing will ever be the same. Because it's suddenly just a different viewpoint. Yeah? Okay, so we're finishing off now, and this is another amazing sentence. These 12 images show the way forward to end human suffering. Depression will be gone. At the same time, we optimize our ability and natural desire to expand sustainably. So it's optimized. We're just going to do better. If you want efficiency, this is going to give us efficiency and happy people, enthusiastic, competing with each other to make progress on this global warming thing. It's going to be fun. There's going to be some big celebrations because we're going to be championing ourselves. Can you imagine? We're all our home team. Yeah? It's going to be fun. It's going to happen quicker than it could otherwise happen, all right? I can't promise it's going to happen in 10 years, but it's going to happen way quicker than it would otherwise happen when we've got the whole world playing this game, being involved. Okay, now this is the part written in red, so it's even more important. I'm going to lean in close for effect. We can trust this path. It is free. Hey, it's free. It's scalable. It's immediate. And you can start wherever you are right now. And it's just going to grow because everything gets easier this way. It's unifying. There's no more arguments. Everybody's getting along. It's fully transparent. There are no secrets. We can see that this is the right way. Mental well-being for an individual. Deal with your past. Do it yourself using those love tools. Work on your communication. That's a continuous work in progress, and it's fun to keep optimizing yourself and to be as awesome as you can be and have the most wonderful experiences that you can imagine having. And then to live that each day in the moment and be that positive, capable person you are. What did I say? Fully transparent? Yeah, it's just obvious, right? But it's not boring. It's the opposite of boring, okay? So it's fun as hell. It's almost instant. Like, so you can do it for yourself in a week or two. The whole world will get this really fast through the internet, through communication generally. Everybody's going to be talking about this for the next 10 years. It's just going to blow everybody's minds as they gradually realize what's going on. And it can be communicated using 12 images alone. And once you've heard these things or read them, you don't have to read them again, really. In fact, well, you do, because it's just enjoyable to read them, because it's such good news. But it's just the images themselves will get those concepts in the right order in your mind to be effective. But you do have to do the KFAG model, seriously, because you can't just do that in an intellectual manner. You can't just go, oh yeah, I get that, so now I don't have to do it because I'm already kind and I'm forgiving and what have you. It really is an experience you have to have and make it a real commitment to yourself. It's sort of like Christians have a thing called confirmation. It seems to be just like that. It's like when you're capable of understanding the world, you go inside and you make a deep commitment to love. And when you do, this happens. If you just keep it all up in your brain and go, oh yeah, no, it's all good, you'll end up really just losing it. It doesn't stay. You have to make this as a commitment. And we do that for ourselves, but for life itself. To cement in our amazing ability to have higher awareness and to live a life which is natural from that. So, yeah, we can trust this path. It's free, scalable, unifying, fully transparent, almost instant, can be communicated using 12 images alone, and is fully in accord with all human knowledge. It's just true. Surprisingly true. So we knew there was something about love, didn't we? Well, there's only one word that holds that idea in the English language. And by making it stronger and recognizing what it really means, that it's foundational to absolutely everything, is kind of the key to this thing. And then being able to put it into a formula, love equals energy. It's just poetically beautiful. Everything is just right about it. And then at the end here, notebook. There are 0 other paths to global well-being. So that's why that little jigsaw is the way it is, because it's clearly the way that humanity has to go. There's no other option. We either survive or we don't. And this is the path to survival. And so everything I showed you in that very first plate, which is just the cover, it's not really an official one. These are the 12 official ones. This is one I made yesterday, which is supposed to sort of, it makes me sort of say, look, I have to start with this. even though it's a turn-off for a lot of people, because it leads to those things. Otherwise I could start with this, but then I have to kind of, it's a weird journey. So I decided in the end, I'm going to just start with the meaning of life. It's been discovered, this is it. And these other ones, that's the reason why it is. All right. The wood chipper is stopped. I hope this video's worked out. At some point, one of these videos is going to work out fine, usably, and then hopefully it's good enough. Otherwise, I just keep making more and get the info out there, right? And enjoy myself while I'm doing it. Okay, that's it. Thank you. There'll be another video. It'll be about the kayfabe. Well, it'll be about a way to be in a fully, it'll take a whole hour to explain that stuff, just to make sure I've said everything I can about it, and that sets you all off well. I'm going to try and get this information, once I've made a good video, soon, once I've got a video which I think is good enough, then I'm going to get in touch with podcasters, people who are looking for people to interview. I hope I get onto one of those and then climb the podcast ladder quite quickly to get this information out to the rest of the world. If that doesn't work, it's still a good idea if you go to, well, you're on this channel right now on YouTube, just press subscribe, because that's the other way. If I get 1 million subscribers, big companies like Facebook, etc. will gradually at some point see what's going on and realize, oh heck, big opportunity, let's get into it. So subscribing is a good idea, just in case my podcast career is rubbish. So, but I think that'll be the best way to do it. I think it's a no-fail way. I can't imagine it failing. I just need to get this video done. Okay, I hope it's a good one. Thank you for your time, and yeah, blessings to you. Have a good time. Bye-bye.